Hey there, Cashflow Crew. Today we're going to go ahead and talk about how to get started with your VA disability claim, the steps involved, and the best methods to get that claim you deserve, as well as the percentage. Now, one of the biggest things when it comes to VA disability claim is you need to start while you're still in the service. That's like the number one thing. So you have to start with your benefits due at discharge. That's your BDD. And that all starts when you go to exit the Army, basically that year before you decide to ETS, out of the service in some form or fashion, maybe medically retire, but then you'll be done automatically for you, so you don't have to worry so much about that piece. But for everybody else, you need to get to the doctor. Like, when you're doing your benefits due at discharge, that's your primary 100% guaranteed way to at least get some disability through the VA. And that opens up the doors for all of these other VA benefits that you have available to you, but you can't access until you have a disability. So that's the first and primary way to get your VA disability through. Now, the second way is in your lapse year. So the initial year that you get out of the military, whether it be the Army, the Marines, the Air Force, the Navy, or our beloved friends, the Coast Guard. And, well, I guess the newborn, the Space Force. You have 1 year from the time you exit the military for everything to still be kind of presumptive, have a little less fight on it. It's one of those things that if you do it within your 1 year after you get out, have the best chance of actually getting that disability claim through and having the VA accept it. So that's something not a lot of veterans understand, is that you have to do these things early. Otherwise, it's going to be a fight. And once it's a fight, you got to be ready to go all in, because the VA won't stop and won't accept it until you have enough medical evidence, a nexus letter, buddy letters, and on top of that, some form of medical records to fully push everything over the top. So that brings us into number 3. Now, number 3, medical records. So you're after your first year, you didn't complete your BDD because you decided you didn't want a disability. Now all your buddies that got out are all receiving all this extra benefits, all this extra money, and you want to be able to have just a little bit of it. But you didn't do it. So now you have to go ahead and look at your military service medical records to make sure that any of these disabilities that might have existed are in there. Because anything that is in your medical records from the service is valid. It's a thing that you can still file for, you can still get that disability, it's just a little bit more of a fight. The next thing that you need is a nexus letter. You need a nexus letter for each and every single disability that you're going for. Basically, a doctor needs to stamp off and say, yes, that disability happened in the military. There's 2 things you're looking for. There's 2 phrases. So those 2 phrases are more likely than not, and likely. So you need those 2 phrases in order to get any disability pushed through to the VA, to the boards, that they can review it, they can approve it, and then you'll have that disability added to your record. Granted, this takes a lot of time, so don't expect anything to be too quick. Granted, if it's already in your military service record, it'll be a little faster than the next couple of steps that we're going to go over. Now, say that you didn't have something done while you were in the service, it's not in your medical service record, and you don't have a medical nexus letter that states, for sure, more likely than not, it happened in the service. The number one thing that you can do is go start seeing the doctor. Any doctor will do. You just need some doctor out there that can go ahead and diagnose any of the symptoms, any of the underlying diseases, any of those things that you might have had happen to you while you were in the service. Once you have medical records, Then you can go find a doctor who does nexus letters, and or you can submit it to the VA as a trial run to see if they will accept this claim. Once you have that medical evidence, it makes it a lot easier for a doctor to go ahead and make a decision on whether that nexus was the service. This is the only way, unfortunately, you're going to be able to get a claim that's not in your medical records, that a doctor did not go ahead and approve already while you were in your labs here. It's literally the only way that you can get this done. So that's one of those things that you need to understand, that if you don't have it done right away, you're going to have those issues, and you're not going to be able to file as easily. Now, let's go ahead and bump you further over. So the medical records are like 80% of the fight. If you have 80% of it done, the medical records are almost all the way there. You can still get a failing grade via the VA at an 80% rating. It's like, the way they do their math is absolutely madness, and the way they do their evaluations is even worse. Because they want absolute, full proof that this happened to you in the service. And I mean, this is valid, because you got to understand that if anyone can file for a VA disability claim, whether they were in the service or not, and then everybody would have VA disability, and the veterans wouldn't actually get what they had. Because anyone can truly fake a DD-214. I mean, I've seen a couple of fake DD-214s come through, so it's not pretty. And that's why you have to absolutely have those medical records and make sure that they exist. So, you got the medical evidence. You found the doctor that has the ability to write a clear nexus letter that says more likely than not or likely. You need those two categories at the very top. The other three categories don't really matter all that much, because it pretty much means you're not going to get your disability. So, we go ahead and we push forward with that stuff, and now you look into buddy letters. Buddy letters are basically anyone you served with, any of your friends, anyone that may have known you in the service receiving this disability. So say you sprain an ankle during a 2-mile run. Well, if your buddy saw you sprain your ankle on that same PT test and watched you fall over into a ditch, probably valid, probably something that happened in the service. So your buddy can write a buddy letter and actually support your claim. This will go in conjunction with a personal statement. Your personal statement is one of those things that the VA allows to say, hey, I am swearing under the threat of perjury that I had this injury happen in the military. The buddy letter supports that, and it helps give it a little bit of weight. But those two little individual things, they don't really count that heavily, because the things that count the most, medical records and nexus letters. So think 80%, 10%, and then this buddy letter personal statement is like 5%. So that leaves you with a whole lot of 5% left over, which is just miscellaneous little things that you might be able to pull from certain medical records. One of my veterans actually was able to pull a news article of an airborne drop that he conducted while in the service during active duty, because he was both reserve and had active orders, but had done an airborne jump and landed on a pile of concrete and rebar that had been pulled up from one of the airstrips and caused injuries to a lot of the paratroopers that were in his chalk. So we were able to take that, do a personal statement, the article which served as his buddy statement, because it was in the news. It was one of those historic archives that didn't disappear, and definitely helped him get a disability for his feet, knees, and ankles, which are all interconnected based on jumps. And a lot of you airborne guys have feet, knees, ankles, hips, spinal issues, sometimes shoulders. Like shoulders they happen a lot to other branches of service, but you guys definitely take a lot of hits on your lower extremities, so that's something that helps being airborne. Prove that you're airborne. You have jump logs, and if you happen to have a news article like this, that's just a power performer in your overall submission. So having the submission pushes everything through and allows the VA to make a decision based on everything that exists. And that's pretty much how you get a VA disability and at least a primary disability added to your record through the VA through the process. First, again, that was BDD before you even get out, benefits due at discharge. Second, your lapse year. Third, medical evidence, nexus letter, buddy letter, personal statement, anything that corroborates to create a full 100%. Remember, all of these things after your BDD and your lapse year are way harder. You're going to have to fight these again and again and again. So you got to get ready and buckle down for that fight. I know mine took me up to 3 years to finish, which I am now 100% permanently and totally disabled. So if you guys can go ahead and call for fire on that like button, because we need to absolutely destroy it. For you artillery guys out there, probably about accurate the percentage that will actually go ahead and hit that like button. But destroy that like button. Let's go ahead and get that done, and subscribe if you can, and share this to anyone that might help. Any of those veterans that need assistance out there, that don't understand the system and need to understand how they can go ahead and file for a claim. Alright, Cash Flow Crew, that's going to be it for this one.